Hi, Jay.
Hi, Sasha. How are you?
Line. I'm good. I'm good. With all this crazy stuff happening in the world and with
I
our
know.
nature, guess we need to get back to business and stay as normal as possible. So, what is
Absolutely.
normal for you? Is it normal to be
Oh
investing
boy.
in companies even when there's, they say, a downturn in the early stage venture capital investments? Or did you see a difference in the last year?
You know what? Obviously, there's ups and downs. But if you're investing in early stage and been doing it as long as we've been doing it for over 20 years, I think once you experience a number of cycles, you realize that just because the overall markets are down, in many ways, that doesn't mean that you should slow down because the opportunities are still there. It's almost like you want to be planting seeds consistently every spring because you don't know what's going to happen in the fall, whether it's a great harvest or not. You just have to be the constant farmer, the constant gardener. And, I think what I've learned over my career is that just because the markets are up, you don't put more money into the market. And just because the markets are down, you don't put less.
Yeah, there's something to be said about discipline. You just get going and you just, yeah, as you said, you need to plant seeds regardless of what you
Yeah,
think.
yeah. And you never know when those seeds, by the time they come time to harvest, whether it's going to be a good year or a bad year. You never know. So you have to be consistent.
Exactly. So will you elaborate a little on your name, GFT?
Mhm.
Because if somebody wants to look it up, you can get anything from gift to geographic financial
Yeah.
transfer. What is GFT?
Well, absolutely. And Shata, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to introduce GFT a little bit. We're a brand new firm. We started officially in 2021. So it's been almost 2 years now. GFT Ventures stands for Global Frontier Technology Ventures. So we're a very specialized venture firm that specializes in early stage investing in frontier technologies. We define frontier technologies primarily. Our focus is around areas like AI, data science, and blockchain, and opportunities that leverage advancements in AI and data science, including robotics and digital health. My partner, Jeff Herbst, and I, we've been doing early stage venture investing for over 20 years apiece. We have a strong corporate background. So Jeff was at NVIDIA for the last 20 years, leading their investments in M&A, and really helped NVIDIA build that AI ecosystem. So he's very familiar with that whole AI startup ecosystem. And I was the founding partner at Samsung Ventures and launched Samsung's venture investment activities here in the US. And then also co-founded a firm called TransLink Capital, where we worked with well over 20 Asian corporates across Japan, Korea, and Greater China who were investors in our fund. And we made introductions to startups, and with positive validation, we would invest in those companies. So with that background, over the years, we've always been on the lookout on behalf of our corporate parents for the next generation emerging technologies that could be disruptive to the existing businesses of these corporates, as well as create new opportunities. And so we've had a long history and track record over the last 20 years of investing in those areas. And quite frankly, we've done pretty well. We launched GFT Ventures in March of 2021 with the goal of raising a $100 million fund. Very fortunately, we've now been able to close over 120. So we exceeded our fundraising target. And for the areas that we focused on, these are areas that we've been investing for, well over 15 years. My first AI investment was back in 2008 in a company called SoundHound, which became one of the leaders in conversational AI. And that company happened to catch the eye of NVIDIA, so Jeff also co-invested. And then Jeff has invested in many different AI, autonomous driving, and various different companies over the years. And so we've been able to have a lot of experience in these areas. And nowadays, with all the excitement around OpenAI and ChatGPT, it's gratifying for the first time. I think the general public is now aware of the power of AI.
That's what I wanted to mention, that you managed to have like a broad range of investments. You did the NFTs and you did the digital health, But then everybody now wants to invest in AI. And as you were saying, you've been following that market quite a while. Can we talk a little bit about that? Is it a new hype? Is like everything AI, like what used to be NFTs and everything blockchain based? Like, what do you think?
Well, so I don't think it's overhyped because I think the potential has been there for a long time, and it's already being demonstrated in many areas, even prior to ChatGPT and OpenAI. So if you think about the efficiencies that many industries now and many business processes have been able to show due to software, right? So the improvements in software and connectivity over the internet and the availability of data and whatnot, the way that we used to work 10 years ago and definitely 20 years ago is completely different than the way we work today. Like doing this Zoom call, think about all the technologies that are enabling this, the software, the connectivity, etc., right? And AI is just another technology layer that enables further efficiency. And so if you remember back in the day, right, there used to be a category called internet companies or mobile companies, right? And now nobody talks about that because internet mobile is so obvious, everybody does that. The same way we believe that AI companies are going to go away, because if you're not using AI in your software stack, you won't be as competitive, you won't be as efficient. And so in every different software layer, whether it's a B2C software for gaming or social media, or whether it's B2B SaaS opportunities, leveraging the output by analyzing data and being able to leverage data science and AI, if you're not doing it, you're just not going to be as efficient, and your competitors are going to eat your lunch. So all of these lead into disruptions in every single vertical industry, from advertising to agriculture, as well as every single business process from HR to sales and marketing. You have to be leveraging the power of data, and to leverage that, you need AI and data science techniques. So I think it's, if it's possible, it's even underhyped. And most people do not recognize how big of an impact this pervasiveness of AI in every software stack is going to really change the way that we do business in every single category.
Yeah, it's like when people confuse like a blockchain technology with everything crypto. No, blockchain is technology.
Crypto is one application of blockchain technology.
Right.
Right.
So the same with AI, right? But also we know that in our venture capital community is a bit of a herd mentality. That is okay, let us all go in there. No, let us all go in here. But you stay true to your expertise, and I believe that when you and I met first, you were at the Samsung Ventures. And will you comment on the differences between a corporate venture capital and an independent fund like the way you run now? What will be like 3 main differences for entrepreneurs to know when they should go and get some corporate venture money, or where they should stay away? You don't need to name names, just in general.
No, I won't. Well, I could give some examples, but I think the important thing to understand is corporate venture has many different flavors, okay? It is a very wide spectrum. And not only that, corporate venture has evolved over the last 20 years that I've been involved in as well. So if you just simplify the corporate venture world, right, there is always a dual objective of one is strategic gain and the other is financial gain. And many venture firms always are trying to optimize for one or the other, or sometimes even both. And so over time, there's been funds that have been exclusively strategically oriented, and others have been blatantly financially oriented. And many of them are in between, looking at both. And even for the ones that are in between looking at both, sometimes depending on the CEO, who, if the CEO is financially oriented and they want to see financial results, it'll be more financial. If the CEO comes from an operating background like marketing and sales, he doesn't care about those financial gains because, again, on a relative scale, the financial gains from investment is so tiny relative to the business opportunities that they emphasize strategic gain. And so what it's important if you're an entrepreneur is to understand the strategics that you're dealing with is what objective are they investing for? Okay. So being able to understand the categorization is really important. And depending on that, if there are more neutral, financially oriented corporates like GV, or what used to be called SAP Ventures or Sapphire now, and a bunch of others that have followed route, where they are less strategically oriented. Of course, they can add value by making connections to their mothership, but it's a value add activity that they can do better than anybody else. But that doesn't mean that it has to be strategically aligned. That's one type of investor on the corporate side. And there's other corporates that are so tightly coupled that only a business unit sponsor will enable a strategic investment. And so understanding that there's different types of corporate venture and understanding which type is the corporate venture that you're dealing with is really important.
Yeah, I think that is crucial, because there are some corporate investors, when, as you said, if they are oriented in just serving the mothership, then they will acquire you maybe before you're ready to be acquired, or sometimes they just don't want any major competition and they just absorb you and won't let you develop. But if it's a financial investment, then why not? Like, to me, there was a star of the corporate world was Intel Capital, right?
Yeah.
And I'm saying was because I don't know, I just right.
Well, Intel was frankly the example that I thought of when, depending on the CEO, they have gone more financial or more strategic and back and forth a little bit.
Right. Yeah, so you have the word global in your name, GFT, right?
Yes.
And well, I've been all for global for many years, but having observed the developments in Asia and Eastern Europe and all that, I see the move to being like more domestic now. Like, let maybe bring companies from outside the world, but let them be headquartered, domesticated in the US. And I understand that you work closely with Israel. Why Israel? Why Israel?
Well, you know what? It's so first of all, global is, obviously something that we aspire to. Right now, we're a very small first-time fund, and we have to be focused. And so for the most part, our focus is really on US investments. But we will look at Israel because in the areas that we invested in frontier tech, like AI and blockchain, robotics, digital health, etc., Israel, over the last couple of decades that both Jeff and I have seen, has demonstrated some of the most innovative companies come out of there, right? So after the US, we look at Israel. Now, clearly in the space of AI, and arguably even blockchain, and definitely in robotics, China has been a dominant force. Some would argue that they have somewhat advanced in certain areas, even more so than the US. But with the whole geopolitical decoupling, it's very difficult for any investor to now invest in both sides of that. So we are based in the US, we focus on US investments, but alongside with that, we see opportunities in Israel. But it's probably at this point, like almost 80–90% is US oriented. We're hoping to find one or two exciting companies in Israel.
Right. Yeah, the world is changing rapidly, and we say it every year, but the last 5 years did see
oh my God, yeah,
major changes. And there was a press release, it's not news anymore, like a big fund like Benchmark, when they make comments about working in Israel, then the high-tech community pays attention, right? So I think that we both agree that maybe for now, making sure that the companies are headquartered in the US, because at least that's what we understand the best. And it doesn't mean that the talent shouldn't come from outside the world.
absolutely not, right? I mean, we hope that if we can grow in our next fund or the third fund, whatnot, and we can have more of a coverage in different areas, we know that there's talent out there all over the world. I mean, I'm actually talking to, you'll be happy to hear, an AI company that's based out of, the founders are Ukrainian, and they are operating out of Barcelona.
Oh, that is, yeah. Well, yeah. Well, yeah. And now with AI and our ability to communications, like through the internet and
Yeah,
Zoom.
talent is everywhere. And you
Very
mentioned,
talented.
Eastern Europe, and definitely there's great talent. East Asia, there's a lot of great talent there as well.
A quick question about incubators, accelerators, and all other business development centers. Would you recommend early stage companies going to, again, without naming any names, like, is it really beneficial, or is it better just to grow on its own speed organically and then find an investor like yourself, like your fund? Like, what
Yeah.
are accelerators and incubators doing for entrepreneurs?
Yeah, I think, again, it depends. So it's always a combination of external opportunity and internal capability, right? So in the founding team, if you just have development resources and experience, engineering, product talent, but you don't really have a lot of experience in fundraising or business development, and you don't necessarily have the means to hire somebody that can do that in-house, then these accelerators are designed to help people like that, right? Because you get access to external investors through the program, you get access to business development leads and business development talent. So it depends on your needs. And if you need help in those areas, some of these accelerators do a fantastic job, and being part of that family will really help. But if you're a startup that already has a co-founder or somebody on the team that has that experience, and you don't necessarily need a lot of help on that, I'm not sure if you necessarily need that. I know that there's some teams over the years that even if you have that internal talent, getting that so-called stamp of approval from a leading accelerator helps. And frankly, it does for branding, for fundraising, for hiring. But again, I think that's an individual choice.
Right. As usual, it depends. I agree with you. I agree with you. Sometimes it helps, sometimes, actually, most of the time,
And I mean, people need to know, though, it's not cheap. You're giving away equity for a very cheap rate. So unless it's value, it's almost like, for example, I went to a business school, and business schools are expensive, and there's 2 years of opportunity cost. If you're not going to go to a top school that gives you, makes it worthwhile, the ROI is there, then you shouldn't go. It's the same thing with accelerators, because those are expensive.
I agree with you. And then even the best accelerators, if it's time, they lose their luster, right?
Yeah.
So
We all know who we're talking about. Yes.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. All right, going back to GFT. So F stands for frontier, right?
Yes.
And we all want to say that we want to breakthrough technologies. They have to be revolutionizing, like all this fabulous stuff. But why would an entrepreneur come to your fund? Because if you look at the websites of all venture funds, they, well, pretty much says the same stuff, right?
That's true.
Right? So what is it that makes you unique?
Yeah, I think a couple of things. I think there's a lot of great firms out there. I think the advantage that we have, number one, is we've been investing in these areas for a long time. And most of the investments that we've made so far have actually been, with the exception of one, out of the 8 companies so far, have been with entrepreneurs that we've known for years. And yes, so there's a history there. We've invested in their prior company, or they were, an executive that came out of a company that we backed, and they started a new company. So having history in that domain and in that community really helps us, right? So if you're looking for somebody that has followed the technology trends, understands the markets for many years, instead of just because it's a new hot thing. Like everybody's looking at AI now. We've been looking at AI and investing in AI for over 15 years, right? Number two, ultimately, there's a lot of money out there, right? And there's a lot of venture funds, angel funds, and whatnot. But after you get the funding, what is the most important need to any startup at that early stage? The most important thing for them is actually access to their first customer or their go-to-market partner, right? And in many cases in these frontier tech areas, chances are the first customer or the first go-to-market partner is going to be a corporate that's already on that cutting edge of technology. And with our backgrounds, Jeff and myself, having been on the corporate side at the Samsungs and the NVIDIAs of the world, a lot of our friends that we grew up with in the industry for the last 20 years are now, shockingly, leading global innovation, global investments, global new businesses at all the major corporations in North America, Europe, and Asia. And so the ability for us to get a startup in front of their potential first customer or go-to-market partner, and all we ask for in return to those big customers is just give us our unfiltered feedback. And by doing that, we do a lot of our due diligence. So we help the startups by making those introductions to the first customers, and we do a lot of the due diligence from the feedback. And I think it's a win-win-win situation in that case. So yes, we can help with those kind of, and we'd like to think that's actually something that's relatively unique that GFT Ventures can do because of our background and our relationships.
Absolutely. I guess you've just answered a question entrepreneurs ask all the time. So what is this smart money? Well, that would be the definition of it. It's not just you're a financial investor. When you say you help the company, that's what you do. And you can overestimate the ability to make those introductions.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. Yes.
Anything else you would like to say? Because I think that's all my questions for today. Anything you would like to tell entrepreneurs or?
Yeah, no, I mean, the only thing I would add, just to be clear in terms of the stage that we invest, you know, what we're trying to be, and we have flexibility, of course, but we'd like to be ideally the first price round lead or co-lead, right? And sometimes that's a seed round, sometimes that's an A round. But what we're doing at GFT is we're building a relatively concentrated portfolio of high conviction investments where we're partnering very closely with the entrepreneur, where we typically will be on a board together, working with the entrepreneurs on a very tightly knit area. And because of that, we can only invest in about 20 or so companies, right? We have 2 general partners and 2 junior partners. And, you know, we'd like to think that we are hands-on and really working closely with the entrepreneur. So if there's interest in those kind of a relationship, and I understand some entrepreneurs don't necessarily want investors to get too hands-on and too involved, that's fine. But, you know, if you're looking to partner with somebody that has some good industry connections, some good experience in these technology areas, then hopefully, you know, they'll reach out to GFT Ventures.
That's perfect. Because if you just want to get some money, go to a bank, you know, go to private firm.
Well, there's so many funds out there, right? Yeah.
Right. Well, thank you, Jay, so much, and good luck to you and GFT Ventures. And I'm looking forward to seeing you again on and offline.
That sounds great. Sasha, thank you so much. Really appreciate it and hope to see you soon.